Hi there, I'm Dr. Melanie McNally and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I am going to discuss anxiety management and anxiety management tools. This isn't a video on recognizing anxiety or identifying signs and symptoms of anxiety. I do that in previous videos, so if you're wondering if it's anxiety, you might want to go back and check those out. This is for people who know that they deal with anxiety but just need some different ways to manage it. All right, so the first thing we have to do is we have to acknowledge what is going on. We have to acknowledge the anxiety. So, what some people will do is they'll just use a really simple scale of 0 to 10 or 0 to 100, where the higher end of the scale is for really intense anxiety, the lower end of the scale is for really low anxiety, and just on a day-to-day basis, so kind of check in with themselves and see where they fall on the scale that day or that particular moment. And that's just a really helpful way for us to get better at recognizing when we're feeling anxious and also seeing where we fall on that scale. Once you've acknowledged your anxiety, and if you realize that you're kind of at the higher end of the scale, see if you can pinpoint a trigger. So you can see, like, is this due to something specific? Perhaps there's a big presentation at work coming up, or maybe you have a test. Maybe you're going out on a date with somebody that you're really nervous about, spending time with. Maybe it's an unexpected bill, or somebody in your family isn't doing well and they're experiencing some health issues. See if there is a specific trigger. Sometimes there is, sometimes there not, sometimes there isn't. So sometimes our anxiety just kind of comes out of nowhere. You might want to check out a previous video I did where I talked about the amygdala-based anxiety and cortex-based anxiety. That's really helpful to know which route our anxiety takes in our brain. But for the purpose of this video, just know sometimes there is a thought that can trigger our anxiety. Sometimes there's not. Sometimes it can just feel very like just a body kind of a feeling, very vague, very generalized, and it's not due to a specific reason. The next thing is to recognize if there's any thought patterns that are contributing to the anxiety. So a lot of people with anxiety tend to experience snowballing thoughts. Snowballing thoughts, if you think of a snowball rolling down the hill and getting bigger and bigger, a snowballing thought pattern would be just kind of like a little worry thought up here. Maybe it's, I'm not going to do well on my test tomorrow. And then it starts to roll down the hill and it's like, I'm going to fail this class. I'm going to be held back a grade. I'm not going to get into a good college. And then it gets to the bottom of the hill and it's this huge snowball and it's like, I'm going to end up homeless and no one's going to love me and I'm going to be alone for the rest of my life. So sometimes when we're really anxious, those snowballs move very, very quickly. And it's really good to pay attention to our thought patterns, to recognize when we are snowballing so we can kind of interrupt the snowballs as they roll down the hill and try and stop them from getting bigger and bigger. Another thing that's really helpful is to recognize when we are pulling other people into our anxiety. So people who have anxiety can be really good at pulling other people into it. I myself do this quite a bit with my husband. If I'm anxious about something, I will try and get him to feel anxious too. And I will, maybe I'm nervous about a storm, a huge winter storm that's coming up, and I'm worried about losing power. And, I might talk about it all the time. And I might start bringing up other things maybe to try and get him to feel a little anxious. I've had clients where when they're feeling anxious about money, they'll start to talk to their partner about their spending habits, even though maybe they don't even share a checking account, but they're just trying to pull other people into their own anxiety. We have to recognize when we're doing that because it's not helpful to those we love, but it's also not helpful to us because we're not really learning how to manage our own anxiety. The next thing we can do is decide to do something about it. So once we know that we're anxious, maybe we've recognized some thought patterns, maybe we've recognized that we're pulling people into it, we can decide that there's something to do about the anxiety. Maybe we can problem solve. So maybe it's due to a specific situation. Maybe I'm really worried about a presentation I have to do at work. So I can problem solve this by maybe I'm going to put in some extra time preparing for the presentation, or maybe I'll practice in front of other people. See if there's a way to problem solve the worry. Another thing is to use relaxation tools. So this is really good for when you feel like your anxiety just comes out of nowhere. Do some physical relaxation tools. That might be deep breathing, meditation, yoga, something that's just meant to kind of calm the body down. Those relaxation tools are really, really helpful. You can use coping tools. So some coping tools might be a worry plan. So if you are really worried about finances, see if you can kind of plan out how you're going to navigate your finances, how you're going to save money or pay off debt or pay the bills or whatever, and kind of come up with a plan for all the different steps that you'll take. Sometimes that planning can alleviate anxiety because then we see, oh, this actually isn't that big and scary because look at, there's all these different things that I can do about it. We can talk back to our worries. So if I'm really worried about going out on a date with somebody new, I might be able to talk back to my worries about it, like, okay, I've gone on lots of first dates. I'm not saying this for myself, I'm saying this for you guys, but I could say something like, I've gone on lots of first dates and I've never tripped and fallen, or I've never made a fool of myself. I can start to kind of talk back to it a little bit, use some logic as a way to decrease the anxiety. And then just use other coping tools like, taking your dog on a walk, or going to the gym and getting some exercise, or pulling up a workout video on YouTube, calling a friend who always makes you laugh, reading a good book, taking a bubble bath. Just try different things that tend to calm you down. And then finally, remember, feelings are temporary. So no matter how anxious you're feeling today, remind yourself that this feeling is not going to last forever. So no matter how permanent it feels right now, it will not last forever. And so keep reminding yourself of that. You will get through it. All right, I hope this video was helpful. You can always go to destinationu.net to get some online support, or to get in touch with me for individual further support. All right, take care.